Okay. Marco. Whoa. Comme c'est... Wow. Okay, so, hi everybody. How are you? Oh bien. Okay, by the way, it's important to take care of some very important business before we begin. I need you all to smile. Can you say, Spring? Spring! Open source. Make love to the camera. Make love. Oh, sexy. That is so good. Right on, guys. Right on. Thank you. All right. So hi. Welcome. We have, how long? We have 50 minutes, so we should be a little quick here. My name is Josh Long. Nice to meet you. I'm the developer evangelist for the Spring technologies at Pivotal. How many of you are using Spring or have heard of it? It's kind of a thing, right? It's out there. How many of you are on Twitter, just by show of hands? Twitter, it's a thing as well. Okay, I expect at least that many more followers. Come on, people, it's 2014, let's make this work. Okay, welcome to the talk. Starbucks Man, email. The email is important. If you have questions, and I have done a bad job of explaining, then send me an email and tell me I was bad, you know, and I can help maybe. So please, don't hesitate, okay? Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm the evangelist, wrote 4 different books. I'm a committer on several different projects. I met Jean-Claude Van Damme. J'étais si bien beurré que je me suis approché à Louis demandant pour un autographe. Et je lui disais, oh, je suis un super fan, please, s'il vous plaît, je veux vous parler un peu de cloud computing. Et Cloud Foundry, c'est mon t-shirt. C'était en Bulgaria. He didn't really understand. He's not the smartest. Anyway, what? Come on, man. It's not. He's a nice guy. Sorry? It's on tape? I know. He's not going to beat me up. He doesn't know where I live. Well, maybe he would. Look at the picture. I look bigger. Maybe it's because I'm American web scale, fat, you know? Very, very big. Anyway, I'm also a committer on several of the projects at Spring, at Pivotal, actually. On the Spring team at Pivotal. Like, for example, Spring Integration before, Spring Batch, I've done some stuff, Spring Boot. A lot of different things, right? And the activity workflow engine, I've been working with the Vaadin and so on. So there's just a lot of, I'm all over. How many of you have heard of Pivotal? Okay, so let me explain so we're not confused. SpringSource was at VMware, and then we decided to start a new company with a lot of other great technologies, including Groovy, awesome, and Grails, awesome, and Redis, RabbitMQ, Cloud Foundry, Tomcat, all these pieces. It's all one company now called Pivotal. So if you haven't heard of Pivotal, it's the new home for Spring, okay? So that's okay. Other than that, one thing we really tried to do when we started this new company was to really, really simplify the development experience, even more than before. You know, it's one thing to deliver power, to make it easy, to make it possible to do incredible things. To make it simple, oh, that's art, you know? So a big part of that was that we released a brand new website. If you go to springsource.org, it doesn't exist. If you go to, it'll redirect you to spring.io, a new website on the web. If you go to the website, there are guides that will introduce how to do a certain thing with a given technology. Each guide is 10 to 15 minutes long. So if you want to do REST, or big data, or social networking, you know, if you want to build programs with Spring that do all these things, there's a guide there that will teach you how to do it. And they're very, very quick. You can do it and, you know, eat your lunch and build a guide every day. It's fun, you know. So good way to go. The website, spring.io, is written in Spring. It's available online. It's called Project Sagan. And all the guides are written with Spring, of course, in Spring Boot. So if you want to learn more, then it's a dog food kind of situation, you know? We also are rethinking how we talk to people about Spring, right? Because there's a lot of really great technologies there, but sometimes it can be a little weird trying to figure out where to start. So the way we like to think about it is in this pretty marketecture. It's marketing nonsense, you know? The top layer is the I/O execution layer. There we have Grails, of course, which is our amazing Groovy language-centric web application framework. Then we have Spring XD, which is our turnkey big data solution. If you've got big data solution or big data processing kind of solutions, live or batch, Spring XD is something you should check out. And then Spring Boot is our entry point. It's what we imagine and we hope that people will use to get started and to continue working with this rich library of technologies, okay? And then, of course, you have all the projects underneath, right? All these things that solve different types of problems. Spring 4 is the new Spring, right? That's the one that we just released last year. It's the latest generation. There's a lot of new stuff in Spring 4. We'll talk about them, and then we'll talk about how those can help you with Spring Boot as well. Spring 4, of course, is the goal for Spring 4, and the goal for Spring in general, is to support common use cases that everyone has. If you're looking for a specific solution, however, for one type of application or workload, you should check out the projects, right? The other ones. Like, if you want to do integration, check out Spring Integration. If you want to work with NoSQL and not only SQL and big data and small data and medium-sized data, check out Spring Data, etc. With Spring 4, we have moved the baseline for a few different technologies. We're now Java SE 6 only. So you have to Java SE 6, 7, or 8, that's all, not 5. How many of you are using Java 5? Oh, that's so awkward. Oh, guys, it's like end of life. Java 6 is end of life. You should have a heart-to-heart with your package manager, you know? We are now Java EE 6 focused, okay? So we still support Servlet 2.5, which is the previous generation. You can still use that, but we're focused and we're aiming towards Java EE 6. And then, of course, a lot of things that were deprecated have been removed. So it's a new baseline. We're going to go through some of the small, they're nice features. You'll see them in action. These are not all of these are huge features that'll change the world, but they're really nice. So the first one is composable annotations, right? The idea is, suppose I want to build my own annotation and apply a set of defaults. Like, for example, if I use the transactional annotation, and I don't want to ever, I want to be able to say that by default it has certain configurations and certain settings, and I don't want to have to re-specify that every time. Now I can create my own annotation, annotate it with @transactional, and then if I want to override some things, I can do that. I can create an attribute that matches the attributes in @transactional. So Boolean read-only is my attribute on my annotation. Spring will see that I have an annotation with a property that matches the same property on @transactional, and it will copy it. It'll take the value and apply it to the annotation that you're using. So I can annotate my code with, @yourtransactional, and it's the same as annotating it with @transactional with the overrides that you specify. But in any case, all the places that I apply this annotation will have the rollback for attribute specified. Okay? So it's a very convenient way to sort of keep your code concise. Again, the nice part about this is you can create very complex annotations. You can compose other annotations to get a certain effect. Maybe you have beans that have to always be session scoped, and they have to have certain, maybe there's certain scopes and certain transaction policies, etc. You put them all in one annotation, and then Spring will see them all as though you put them on each place. So you just use one annotation, and Spring will see all the other annotations on that annotation. It's a meta annotation. The container itself, the Spring Dependency Injection container, has a few new features as well. How many of you have used JSR 330, javax.inject.provider, etc.? So there's this idea of you can inject a pointer or a reference to a provider, and you can say provider.get, give me a reference to this bean, but it's lazily initialized. So if I want to access the bean, later, or if I want to get a new one, I can call this provider and I can get a new bean each time if I want. Spring has always had Object Factory. It does the same thing. Well, now I can do @autowired space @lazy space foo or whatever, some bean type. I can inject it into my code, and the bean I get is a proxy. So I won't get the actual bean. It won't create the expensive connection. It won't do the expensive thing until I use that object in my code. So it's an annotation way of doing the same thing that JavaX inject provider and Object Factory do. I can use @ordered, the annotation @ordered, or the ordered interface, or sorry, @order, or the ordered interface, and I can inject lists of beans. I can say, give me a collection of all the data sources, and if those data source beans have @ordered annotations on them, that ordering will be honored. It will be kept when I inject it, okay? Another thing. Previously, there was JDK, CGLib-based proxies and JDK proxies, okay? So 2 different ways to do the same thing. The CGLib-based proxies basically create a subclass of the bean that you're trying to use. So there's some restrictions. For example, you could not have a final bean, a final class, right? And you had to have a no-argument constructor, right? Which is kind of, it's like a choice, we can't do complete magic and sorcery. Now you can. Now you can actually create a CGLib proxy of beans, even if there's no default constructor. So it'll just work. And of course, @conditional. Conditional is my favorite feature. We'll talk about that a lot in a minute. Spring Framework 4 has very, very good support, as we always do, for the latest generations of Jave EE. So Jave EE 7 is finally out. JMS 2 is here, for example. The JTA and JPA updates, the managed or scheduled executor services it describes the standard thread pool. That's well supported by the task executor interface that Spring provides. So you have all these, really nice adoptions. We use all these pieces if they're available. You don't need it, but we support them. We also support the new JCache, the final, the JCache JSR that has taken 10 years to release. We support it now. We supported it in Spring 3.1 3 years ago. But now that it's final, we also have improved support for the final spec. Java 8. How many of you are using Java 8? It better be everybody. Come on, people. Java 8, come on. Oh, that's so sad. Guys, Java 8, seriously. For Christmas, give yourself Java 8. So nice. I can't go back. I can't. It's just really nice. So you have native support for things like lambdas and method references, and you'll see that soon. The benefit about Java 8, one of the big things, in Java 8 you have SAMs, right? Single abstract method types, or functional interfaces. This is an interface with one abstract method. For example, initializing bean, or row mapper, or any of these other callback interfaces that Spring has. They can all be used with lambdas, right? It just works. You don't have to change any of your code. So that's a very nice feature. JSR 3.10. How many have played with Joda Time? Stephen Colburn's epic, awesome API for date manipulation. We support in Spring for conversion and for formatting JDK Java util date, Java time, the whole java.time, ***, and we support Joda time, right? So you have 3 different ways of doing date formatting and conversion in Spring now, and it's all very well supported. And then parameter name discovery. So it used to be, if Spring wanted to correlate or match a parameter to for example, a request field, it could look at the name of the parameter and then say, oh, this is named X or Y or whatever, and it could see there's a request header coming in that had the same name. But it could only do that if you had debug symbols enabled by default, which most of the time you did. But if you disable that, then the whole thing does not work, right? It breaks. In Java 8, there's finally a way to do it through reflection. There's a supported way to do that in the reflection code, and we support that now wherever possible. And of course, we have good support for 6 and 7. So if you want to build an application on Java 8 and then run it on earlier versions, that's fine as well. Okay. My new favorite feature is @conditional. We'll talk about WebSockets and everything else, but let's start with @conditional, okay? @conditional is an annotation that lets you, conditionally activate a Java bean. Have you seen @profile? @profile is an annotation that lets you say, this bean has a name, it has a tag, and that tag I want only this bean to be available when this tag is active, okay, this string. So I can say, this is a bean for development. This is a bean for production, or for the cloud, or for unit testing, right? Any kind of environment-specific bean. We have taken @profile, which has been around for several years now, and made it so that it is using @conditional. @conditional lets you specify a condition, and then the condition is evaluated when the bean is registered. So if the NASDAQ is above a certain point, or if the New York Stock Exchange is whatever, or if Mercury is in retrograde, then your bean can be active, right? Anything you want, right? And so it gives you a lot of power. It gives you the ability to do things based on conditions, including things like, what does my application look like? What other beans are in the context, etc. For me, the best part about Spring 4's @conditional feature is the way you can use it with Spring Boot. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate some of these features in Spring 4 through Spring Boot. How many of you were at my quickie earlier? Okay, so we're going to look at the same kind of thing, just a lot more details. Is that okay? Maybe a little bit. Oh, you don't seem so sad. My God. Okay, so let's see now. Okay, so if you were not in my talk, I'm going to go ahead and reproduce or redo some of the things I did earlier. Really? Oh, that's so sad. Okay, cover your eyes, okay? 1618. Shh. Shut up. What the hey? Marriott. Gosh. Okay. I hope I'm connected. Info queue. Okay, good. Sound. Okay, good. So the easiest way to get started with Spring Boot, there's a lot of different ways to do it. The easiest way, I think, for anybody is to go to start.spring.io. This is a web service that's available online. You can use STS if you like, the new, the latest version of the Spring Tool Suite, which is an Eclipse distribution. You can use that as well. Okay, good. And you can use the dialog from inside of STS that does the same thing as this wizard. This wizard, by the way, was also written using Spring Boot. And it's a Groovy script, actually. It's a Groovy-powered Spring Boot application. And the idea is you can go, you say File, New, Spring, Start a Project, and then, like that. There. Okay, good. So I can just say I want to build a web application. I want to build something that uses a time leaf. I want to build something with the actuator, etc. You hit Next, and you have a URI. This is a URL that you can paste in the browser, right? It's the same URL as we have in the web service. So they're the same thing. You can use our Eclipse and our Eclipse distribution, or you can use NetBeans or IntelliJ or Vim or whatever. Anybody using NetBeans? Oh, that guy. Were you here last year? The one guy? Well, anyway, IntelliJ and NetBeans and Eclipse all have very good support for Maven. We also support Gradle. How many of you use Gradle? I love Gradle. Oh, guys, you should try out Gradle if you can. It's pleasurable, which is different from Maven. Okay, hit cancel. We don't want to use this. I'll just go ahead and do it the old-fashioned way. So I'm going to go ahead and build a new project, okay? We're going to build an application live today and talk about some of the new features in Spring 4. I want to build a new application with web support for building REST and WebMVC applications. I will use Timeleaf, which is like a JSP or a FreeMarker or a Velocity template engine. How many of you are using JSP? How many of you love JSP? Just love it. Just want to go home and use it when your wife is there, Like, does that happen? No, it doesn't, except for that guy. I don't believe you, though, because you look too happy. There's no way you use JSP. No. So yeah, JSP it's a way of solving a problem. But have you ever tried to scratch an itch by using a gun? It would solve the problem, but it's just not what you want, So don't do that. So we're going to build an application that, basics, right? The defaults are going to be group ID, org.demo, artifact demo, description, blah, blah, blah. This is just regular build stuff. You don't have to use this. It just saves you some time, that's all. It's a one-way trip. You don't have to use this at all. I'm going to use it because I'm very, very lazy. So I will download this. And what you get is a starter file. Go to the desktop here. Remove the old one because we don't need it. Starter, okay. Unzip. And if you go into the directory, like so, you see we have 4 or 5 files. What is it? Or 5 files, yeah. We don't need the Gradle build, but if you did want it, you can use it. I'm going to use Maven, but this is a pre-working, Gradle build, okay. RM, goodbye for you. There's error, go away. There's a don't need that. I need the other one. There we are. It's a basic Maven build. We have a parent version, a parent Maven POM. Okay, all the versions for common libraries like the logging, like Hibernate, like Log4j, and just everything. All the different Spring projects, Spring MVC, REST, Spring Data, Spring Integration, Batch. All those projects are versioned in this parent POM. You don't have to use the parent POM, but it is convenient because it has all the versions managed for you. And the nice thing is, if you put a version and you specify, that I'm using Spring Boot 1.01, today I get Spring4.3, I get Spring, all these different pieces. In a couple years, or maybe next week, or who knows, if we release a new version of Spring Boot, all the other dependencies are raised up for you as well. So you don't have to worry about trying to figure out which versions of which libraries work together. We'll do it for you, finally, all that, all that pain. So that's gone. And then the nice thing is you don't have to use the versions. You don't have to specify the version, right? So I'm going to use these different Maven dependencies from Spring Boot. These are org Spring Framework Boot, starter actuator, org Spring Framework Boot, starter data JPA, time leaf, web, etc. These are all opinionated. They're a very strong opinion. Okay, we are saying that if you're trying to build a data, an application that works with SQL, you're probably going to use JPA. How many of you use JPA? How many of you use like Mongo or something like NoSQL? Okay, well we have Mongo and Redis support as well, but if you're trying to do JPA, you don't want to waste time trying to configure, every little thing, right? Just do it, right? Most of the time you're going to use Hibernate. How many of you are using Hibernate? Yeah. Are there other ones out there? Of course there are other ones out there, but the 80%, it's going to be Hibernate. It's going to be JPA2. It's going to have certain libraries on the class path, etc. So we do that for you. This is not about optional everything. This is about, we want a result right now. I want to be able to just start coding, okay? Same thing for all these other ones. We're going to go ahead and move this to 1.8, okay? So I'm going to move my Java level to 1.8 because, again, I told you earlier, I can't go back. It's just way too hard. Have you tried? I'm just telling you, if you do try Java 8 for your birthday or for Christmas, or Hanukkah or whatever, if you give yourself Java 8, just say goodbye to Java 7. Write a long letter, The other thing we have is this build plugin. Okay, the build plugin, you don't have to use it. You can throw it away if you want. But what it gives you is a fat jar, web scale, gros, comme les Américains. Huh? So big jar. And you can just do Java minus jar, and then the name of the jar, and it will start up everything. It has all the libraries inside of it. So it's very good for the cloud. If you go to Cloud Foundry or Heroku or OpenShift or anything, that works just fine, right? It's a very natural model. Okay, so we've got all that in place. Let's go ahead and open this thing up. Starter, yep. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit because I don't remember everything offhand, but we'll get the job done, okay? So I'm gonna move this to Java 8. Go. By the way, you can also use Groovy. I should mention that. So if I go here, desktop, mate service.groovy, okay? I can say at REST controller class hello salut devox, right? Like so, request mapping, hi, name, sorry. And then what is it, def? hello. Actually, I'll even better. I'll just do like object. Okay. So I can say path variable string name, and all I'm going to do is name. Salut. Okay, so that's my basic Groovy code. And now with the Spring command line tool, which you can do if you do brew, like so, brew, install, Spring, boot, you'll get this command line tool. It's a little utility. And then you can use Spring run service.groovy, and that will actually look at your Groovy code, and then based on what it sees there, it'll load the libraries that you need for that to work. So I go now to here, localhost, what was the endpoint? Salut. Okay. And so what you get is a JSON response very, very quickly, right? So Groovy is fine. It's a very good way to go as well, okay? I'm going to use Java because I happen to be a little bit more comfortable in Java. But again, either one. Who uses Groovy? Who loves it? I love it. I'm a fan. Oh, guys. Oh, you guys are so cool. But you got to like Groovy and Java 8. Come on, guys. You have homework now. C'est vos devoirs. Okay. So anyway, goodbye with that. Okay. Now then, I'm going to build an application that can handle the reservations just like we saw earlier. Okay. So the idea is I want to build a slightly more complicated application, a more sophisticated one, and we'll use a lot of the technologies in Spring 4. Okay. So can you guys all see this font? Because it's huge. File. I need it to be a little smaller, even for me. Font size, come on, come on, come on, fais vite. Slightly smaller. Yes, okay, still? Okay, so the code I'm going to be using is it's going to be on my GitHub on Josh Long. Just look for beautiful code or Spring for the win code. I'm going to go ahead and import a lot of different libraries quickly, since I need to move quickly. So here's my project. I'm going to copy some code, and we'll just get done. So I'm going to import, I've got data JPA, I've got the, I don't have the WebSocket one. So we need the WebSocket support. Okay. Spring, nope. Spring boot starter. Voila, okay. I need the messaging support and H2 and WebJars. How many of you have played with WebJars? It's awesome. Guys, it's like, it's like a hug. It's a hug for JavaScript, It's a really good thing. So, okay, hit @enable autoconfig. What I've done is I've imported a sock.js JavaScript client, WebSocket support, jQuery, AngularJS, and Bootstrap, all through Maven dependencies. So these are JavaScript and CSS libraries, and Spring Boot already supports them. So if they're on the class path, they'll be exposed and made available to your client code, okay? Other than that, do I have everything I need? I think I do. Good, so let's get going. First thing, I'm going to build an application that has, that manages data for me. It makes something to store data about reservations, yeah? So the first thing I need is the JPA entity. We did this earlier, so I won't repeat all of it, but this is a basic JPA entity. A lot of noisy code, right? Look at that. So good, so good, so good, okay? So this is a JPA entity for managing reservations at restaurants, something simple. Nothing very fancy here. Basically, like that is what we're doing, okay? And if you were using Scala or Groovy, that was basically mostly what you would have to do is that. But because JPA is sort of silly, you need to do a lot of other stuff to make this fun. So I'm going to go ahead and build a constructor here. I'm going to go ahead and build another constructor like that, select none. I'm going to go ahead and get some getters, right, some accessors. I'm going to build a toString like that. Whew. Okay, so you can see where the noise comes. This is the most code I will write that is like stupid, right? This is the stupid code that I'm going to write today. I don't want to write any more stupid code. Done with this. We need a way to save the data. As before, I'm going to use embedded H2, the database. If you define a data source bean, okay, if you look at Java configuration, Have you seen this at bean Java configuration? Right? Not that one. So this is Java config. What this says is Spring, when you start up, find all the methods that have @bean, invoke the method, and then return the bean. This is the same as XML. This is the same as going a bean class equals javax equals whatever, my data source. And the ID, in this case, this is the bean ID. Okay, so this happens, you can register one if you want, or you can just use the default that Spring Boot will provide for you, okay? I'm going to go ahead and save some data, right? So I need a Spring Data repository. Spring Data is a way of working with data without too much pain, right? So how many of you have used Ruby on Rails? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. So you can do something like this in Ruby on Rails. You can say class car, active record, blah, 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 and car equal car.new, car, and model. And this translates into like a call, behind the scenes, right? Behind the scenes, this method is like this. Select all from cars, whatever. Okay, so it's dynamic. It's using the language itself to catch the method that you're calling that doesn't exist, and then to replace it. You can't do that in Java. You still need an interface, right? So you have a compiler to talk to. So here we have a basic repository that does the same kind of thing. So I don't need that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and register some beans to register, to save my data for me. Whoops. Hello. Go back. I'm going to register a initializing bean, and I'm going to use Java 8 lambdas here. Okay. Goodbye. Okay. Voila. So this is a Java 8 lambda. What I'm saying is, when Spring starts up, I want to register a bean of type initializing bean. I need a pointer, I need a reference to this object. This is the interface that we defined down here. I'm going to have it injected for me automatically, okay? So I can, if I wanted to inject other beans like a data source or whatever, I could as well, but I don't need those. And then I'm going to return a Java 8 lambda that looks at the, it's just going to take this, stupid string here, go through each name, and save a new reservation with a name and a date that is 20 seconds in the future. So it's going to be 20 seconds, 40 seconds, 60 seconds, etc. Okay? So that is not bad. And then I'm going to print out everything that we have saved. So if I run this application, I'm going to run it like that. So this is Java configuration. How many of you have used Java configuration? Okay, good. So this is not going to be too weird. You can see the data has been saved, and I can query it, transparently, right? The data is just already there for me. I don't have to set up Spring Data, right? I don't have to set up any of that stuff. The way that works is I'm using data source auto configuration, right? So this is a configuration class that Spring Boot provides for you. And remember I told you about @conditional? Conditional is used all over the place to define things for you. We can say, okay, if there's an embedded database on the class path, and that database, and there is no other bean, right? There's no other bean of type data source in your context, then go ahead and import this embedded data source configuration class. And this configuration class sets up, H2 or Derby or HSQL. So that's the Spring 4 feature I was talking about, the @configuration, the @conditional, right? We can do this all over the place. We do it for web, setting up the web server, setting up everything else. So this is the very, very powerful feature. It's the ability to do something if you want it or if the situation is correct. Otherwise, it'll defer to what you have done. So this will set up embedded in-memory database, H2, but if I define a data source bean, then that will be used instead. You see, you can have both ways. Let's see, what else do I need? I'm going to build a REST API, right? I want to have a REST API just like before. So I'll paste this in here. This is the same thing as before, but you see we have a new annotation here. This is also new in Spring 4. The annotation is @REST-controller. This annotation is just a composable stereotype, like we looked at earlier, for @controller, same as before, and @response body. So it is assumed that you want a response body to be converted into HTML or HTTP, something on an HTTP payload, right? This is using a new Spring4 feature, but it's just syntax sugar for @controller plus @responseBody. Okay, so that's pretty easy. And in this code, I've injected a pointer, I've injected a reference to my repository down here, and I have an endpoint, right? I'm saying whenever somebody goes to /reservations, call the repository and find all the data and then send that back. Nothing particularly special. Let's run this now. Run as, wait for it. Okay. So the application is now up, same as before. We can localhost reservations like so. You can see that REST data is coming back, right? It's just pretty printed here, but it's just the same data that was in the database, and it was very easy to get started. Less code is good, right? This is part of Spring MVC. So you can use Spring MVC without Spring Boot, but you still have to configure a little bit, right? With Spring Boot, you just start writing code. I just have a REST controller. Next, let's see what else. Next, we want to have, yes, we should build a web page here, okay? So I'm going to build a web page for an application. I want to have a page where I want to have a Spring MVC controller, and I want people to be able to go to that page and look at all the reservations in the database on a page, and then also, when there is a current reservation that is due, to be notified, okay? I want to have an alarm. So here I say, whenever someone goes to reservations.html, call this page, redirect to the reservations page, the reservations template, which we're going to create here, and then render it, right? Usually when you set up Spring JSP or Velocity or Timeleaf or whatever, you have to register a view resolver. Well, you don't have to now, right? We've done this for you based on what is on the class path. So by convention, by default, you go to templates, source main resources templates, and then you create a file called reservations.html. And I'm not going to type the whole reservation code for you right now because time. But template, okay. This is a Timeleaf template. You can see I'm doing some very basic stuff. I'm using the JavaScript libraries that we imported from WebJars. These WebJar JavaScript files are already exposed through Spring Boot. You don't have to do any mapping to make them exposed. Spring Boot knows about WebJars already. And then other than that, I have some basic JavaScript here and some AngularJS templating, right? I'm going to do one more thing, again, based on convention, source main resources. I'm going to copy this property file, right? So if you go to this property, application.properties, and I'm going to say to Spring Boot, reload my views. If I make a change, I want to just refresh. I don't want to have to reload the container. So it's just a convenient property so I can override the behavior. Let's see. I guess that's enough for now. Let's start this up. Okay. So this is going to start up, and hopefully it will not die. Here you go, guys. Do this. Always do that. So it'll kill the previous version of the code, and then run it for you again. Okay. Run. Fais vite. So we're going to have JavaScript errors, of course, because we have no JavaScript code. The right place to put JavaScript or CSS or anything is in the public directory. So source main resources public, and then if you have anything in there, it'll just be exposed automatically, right? So I'm going to create app.js, and I'm going to copy the code from my app.js into there, right? This is a simple Angular.js application. How many of you have used Angular? Now you're cooking. Good stuff. So I wonder if that'll work. Let's see. We have this still works, right? Right there. Reservations.html. There's the JavaScript code that loads the data from a web service, right? From the REST endpoint. So you see right here? I'm using Angular. I'm saying get the reservations from my REST endpoint and then set them in their Angular table. I'm creating a little table that renders all the data there. And other than that, this is the table. I'm just repeating these cells, and I'm getting the data, and I'm listing it here. So these are the reservations for different people coming into the restaurant. However, I still need to notify them when something happens. And this is a perfect way to use WebSockets, right? How many of you are using WebSockets or want to use it? So Spring 4 has really good support for WebSockets. You can use JSR 352 or 356, I forget which one. You can use that if you want. But if you're using an older container, like, for example, almost any of them, basically, because the standard is so new, then Spring 4 still supports what you need, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and set up my WebSocket configuration here, like this. Oh, it's over here. Voila. So WebSockets. I'm going to register a WebSocket controller that handles notifications. It'll send notifications down into the client, and then the client can react. It can, do the right thing. And what else? I need the WebSocket configuration itself. See, with Spring Boot, you should only configure the things that you need to know about, or the things that are specific to your application. Okay, so we're trying to spare you from too much work. Only the things that that are unique to your application. Whew. Come on. Okay, so here's a @enable WebSocket message broker. This is new in Spring 4. Okay, and there's a base class, abstract WebSocket message broker configure. And I'm implementing the @enable scheduling, which gives me the ability to do like cron expressions, these kind of things. Okay, so what I'm saying is register a WebSocket endpoint at /notifications and support sock.js. Again, you don't have to use sock.js, but it's very nice because a lot of browsers don't natively support WebSockets. Well, okay, that's not true. All of them support WebSockets except for one. And I'm very modest. I won't dare to name names. I won't do that. It would be rude. It would be rude. It would be bien mal éduqué, you know. But if I did name it, if I did, and I won't, but if I did, it might rhyme with something like Winternet Explorer. I won't name names. I won't do it. It's beneath me. No. But there are some browsers that just aren't particularly great right now. I mean, actually, that browser, the new version, does support it, but it's brand new, so nobody's using it, you know. Okay, so we have the WebSocket support. We've configured a thread pool. We've said I want to support WebSockets on this endpoint, and I want to support sock.js. Here, I am configuring things like the thread pool for the internal, the backend thread pool, basically. And let's see, I'm also configuring my scheduler, right, the scheduling thread pool as well. So it's the same reference, same thread pool for two different things. What else? Do I need all that? I think that's about it. Oh, and here's my Spring MVC controller. And all I'm doing is I'm injecting the simple messaging sending operations, okay? In Spring 4, we have a new abstraction for messaging. This abstraction borrows from Spring Integration. How many of you use Spring Integration? Well, you guys should, check out Spring Integration 4. It has a nice Java configuration API. It's really, really nice. And it's now rebased on top of Spring 4's messaging types. Okay, so Spring 4 it takes the types from Spring Integration, and then Spring Integration 4 now rebases on top of those core types. So you have a common messaging abstraction for, eventually, you'll have a common abstraction for AMQP, for JMS, for WebSockets, for everything, okay? And all I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, in my constructor, give me the scheduler, give me the reservation repository, and give me the messaging template. And then in my, what I'm going to do is I'm going to schedule a notification for each reservation when that reservation is due. So if I set up a reservation for 7 o'clock tonight, I want somebody to see a dialogue, an alert saying, hey, somebody's coming. You got to set the table. They're going to want food, you know, clear a spot. So I think that's everything I need. Okay, so we'll run that now. And actually, if you look at this code, there's JavaScript errors, right? That's why I didn't show you the JavaScript console before. But there was no WebSocket before, but now there is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and refresh. We're actually connected to a WebSocket now. And you can see the first one here is at 16:19:54. So we will wait very awkwardly for 5 seconds. Hopefully. Cross your fingers. I don't know. Voila. Okay, so there's the first one. It's due, right? And the next one will be due at 2014 in another 20 seconds. So again, if you have any questions and you can ask them in 18 seconds, please do. But if you don't, then we'll just wait awkwardly. Oh, that's so wrong. There you go. So that's WebSockets in action, okay? That's a new feature in Spring 4. That's kind of the big picture. I wanted you guys to see all these features in action and see how easy it is to code them. I hope you agree there's a lot here. You want to see, we have 5 minutes. Do you want to see more, or should we just answer questions? More? Say yes. Yes. All right. So Spring Boot, by default, the idea with Spring Boot is that you're supposed to be production ready by default, right? So I showed you guys this earlier. You can easily, oh, go away. Come on, stop. I'll kill this. Go ahead and rebuild. I'm going to add a demo. I'm going to add a library to our application here. I'm going to say dependency, Spring Boot, starter, remote. I did that. No. Okay, so I'm going to add a remote shell. It's going to be a convenience API that I can use to log in and inspect my application. If you go here, localhost. By default, that actuator, remember the actuator that we added earlier? The Spring Boot starter actuator up here somewhere? Dove. Yeah, there you go. That actuator provides a lot of value out of the box. One of my favorite features is all the stuff that you get for free. So here's the reservations.html, right? Okay, reservation. Yeah, I know. Reservations like this. Reservation. I'm going to go to and now I've called reservations a few times. Refresh. With Spring Boot, you get things like the metrics. Okay, this is the different requests that we've made. And the status code, right? So status 200, status app.js, we called it 9 times, got the, etc. There's things like the health endpoint. Again, you can override this, okay? This will show you the last exception if you had one, and it'll show you the current select one, a query to verify that the current JPA database is working. You can override it by defining a bean of type health indicator, okay? You can also see things like the env. This will show you the environment that you're working in, right? You go to beans. This will show you all the beans in the Spring context, okay? Very good for debugging, very good for connecting to New Relic and Nagios and that kind of stuff. You can also go to JConsole. Come on. So it automatically supports JMX by default. So again, you go to mbeans and you can see org Spring Framework endpoints. And here's all the different things you can use, right? So the health endpoint that I showed you earlier, I get the data. You can see the same thing we saw in the JSON, right? Even better, my favorite, this one's awesome, SSH -p 2000 user at, and then when we added that library to the class path, the shell remote, what we got was a password. You can override this. You can use Spring Security if you want. But I can say at 127.0.0.1, password, enter, and now I'm in a shell that I can use to do things to ask the system about what's happening. I can say system prop ls, list all the environment variables. I can do env, I can get that. I can do, let me see, let's ask for some help here. Wait for it. I can say Java type java.lang.string. You get the disassembled version of that code, etc. The metrics, I showed you that earlier. That's here as well, right? Same thing as before. So this is all over SSH. And my favorite one, the one I love so much, this is so cool, is dashboard, of course. Shows you the processes and the memory and all that stuff. And it's available just by default. So again, this is all powered by @conditional, which is in Spring 4. So this is why I love that @conditional annotation. Okay, guys. Questions? Thoughts?
Donc, juste une question. Une minute.
Il y a des questions? Oh, OK, well. N'hésitez pas à me le poser après. Je serai ici. Merci d'être venu. Oh, yeah, Louis. I'll drink some water.
How about Spring performance versus GE 7 or in next year's 8 performance? We know that for production needs, Spring can challenge and support same charts as GE web server.
Yes, it's there's no easy way to answer that, of course. The question is, what about performance versus Jave EE, yeah? Spring works with Jave EE, so it can be as fast as that if you want. We also have a project called Reactor, which is an asynchronous, event-driven way of working with code and with systems. Super fast, hundreds of thousands of messages per second, easily. There are some small websites that are using Spring. Baidu, for example, is the 4th largest search engine in the world, 4th largest website in the world. They're all Spring. So it's very, very fast. You know, again, like the application I've just shown you is one jar. It's 22 megabytes for that entire thing. So you take that one jar, put it into production, put it on Tomcat, put it on, you know, Wildfly if you want for JBoss or WebSphere or whatever. It'll run just fine. It's a Servlet 3 application after all. So I'm using servlets here. I don't know how to answer the question, but it should be as fast as you want it to be, right? The problems you're going to experience are related to like JPA, right? How fast does Hibernate? Well, it's not very fast, right? So there's different things there. Our WebSocket support uses the WebSocket API on Jave EE 7 if you want to, but you can also run in Jetty or Tomcat or whatever, and it still works, right? And that's very, very fast. We're using Reactor. Remember the thing I mentioned? The Reactor is super, super fast. So very, very fast, I hope. Reactor uses the ring buffer disruptor pattern. So LMAX disruptor, if you Google LMAX disruptor, you'll see the design pattern behind it. Super fast, right? One of the fastest kind of thread pools ever. So Reactor is now in the Grails event system, and it's underneath Spring integration as well. So I don't think you'll get much faster without giving up functionality. Other questions, my friends? Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.